Okay, so we left it off putting down some shading. That is what we did. So now we're going to start using the blender to kind of give us that nice little fade into where we need to put some of the shadow. So I'm going to start with my dirty end of my blender. Remember, we are using very small rotating areas to really help us to push down. We will use our blender like we would use our pencil. The more you press down, the more graphite you will put down or move around. But the lighter you are, the less you do. This side will be used for buffering to kind of give it that buffer into a nice even tone and to smooth things out. We also must remember not to overblend because sometimes we could get a little too happy with our blending and we tend to overblend. So we're going to make sure we don't do that either. All right, so using my pencil, and again, like I'm going to use my blender side like that. I'm going to lay it down and going in a rotating manner. I'm going to start out with some light pressure. And I just kind of just want to smooth things out. I don't want to go too far into this area because this is where the highlight of the nose is. So I probably will be removing some of this shading, but we just kind of just want to come in here, move some of that around. Then I'm going to take my side right here, kind of give it a nice firm, and again, just buff it out and make it nice and smooth. See how we're making this nice and smooth just for right now. I'm going to turn it just a little bit. Again, nice and smooth. And then just we're going to use our eraser just like we would use any other tool. Pressure. If you come really with a heavy pressure, you're going to erase a lot. If you come with a light pressure, you give it a light erase. It just kind of takes some of it off, or like how I taught you in class to do like a tap and swish just to pick up some of this graphite. For that way we can make sure that we're not creating too much of a tonal nose and we're keeping the highlight. After I remove some of it, I'm going to use this clean side of my blender just to give it a nice little buff in this area. Is what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to pick up some of this graphite, give myself some of this way of just trying to really shape this area of the nose. And again, I don't want to make too big of an area. I probably take some of this off too. But it is to help me shape this nose the way that I want. And I'm going to do a very light over here because I will have to come in here and add more on this side. And I'm going to make sure it's very nice and smooth here. I do believe I need to remove some of this area right here. So just using that corner of that eraser. To remove some of this area that I kind of went a little too happy with. Bring it in just a little bit. And I do believe I'm going to have to bring in some of this area too, which is not that big of a deal. Again, okay, and always make sure that this end is clean because this area is not purpose to lift, but to lift graphite, not add graphite. All right, and then I know I'm going to have to somewhat do that. All right, so, and then I'm going to do this area right here. All right, so now I pick this up. I'm going to do this part of this nose right here. Try not to go over that line again. Buff out this area. because it kind of just fades into a lighted area. So that's what mine is going to do too. I know our brain wants to close it and connect it because, like, you know, that's what our nose does. But remember, we do not see that, so we cannot do that. Instead, what we can do is use this to shape this outer area that we would like it to be shaded, to add that nose. Because our nose has to be eventually carved or created by shading. A little bit. All right. So I'm getting kind of happy with this. It's not perfect, but it is making me happy. And then I'm going just to soften up this area just a little bit. All right, so see, we're starting to get a nose. Now I'm going to pick up some more of this graphite and really start, because it does really create that boundary. So we're going to really create that boundary ourselves. And then it kind of just curves into this nose a little bit. And then it essentially just goes straight up. And then don't forget to do the U trick either when, like what we did with cylinders, because our nose is rounded, not flat. So I don't want our nose to be flat. And so it's right here. Okay. And now I'm just going to go and start adding the shadows, because I do know that I'm gonna have to make this area dark, which is gonna in turn make this part darker. So that is what I am going to do. I'm going to add shadows to make myself happy. I'm going to start from this area, add where I need to add, and take away where I need to take away. So starting in this area right over here, we do see we have like this dark little area. So little small little circle areas. Darkening this area. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that clean side to really buff it out into my skin. Do have like a little bit of a shadow coming in right here, probably because it's where the eye is. It looks like it's about halfway through this area right here. So, and then it goes into this square over here. So, a little like midway. So, and it is a little bit darker on this top part here, so let me add some. Yeah, there we go. And it does go into that area. That is what I'm going to do. Sometimes get it extremely perfect, but as long as I know what you're talking about. Oops. And I am going to kind of just buff it out just a little bit right here. Darker here. I might use my pencil to come in here and put in some shading, because I think that's what I'm gonna have to do, is really come in here and put in some shading. So using those little circular motions just to lightly put in some shading, because it's always easier to come in here and put another layer. There we go. Clean my blender edge. It's a lot of cleaning, so be patient. Again, really using the side of this. Get a bit of hand pressure to kind of just push this around. Not coming over too much on this side, but definitely bringing it up higher. Sure that I'm using a softer blend to bring it into this area that where it is here, and let's just kind of make it marry into the skin over here, where it's just kind of just blending. Let's go ahead and add this area right here. I feel like the shadow is coming into this area just a little bit more, but not a lot more. Buff. Okay. I do see some dark area here, so again, in that dark area where I see over here. Just going to buff this area into this surrounding area. I'm going to put a little bit of shading right here because I feel like it just needs a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. It does come pretty close to this edge, so. All right, and I'm going to bring this little area up to here, just kind of give it that nice little shading, buff it out, because I do want that smooth transition. I feel that's what that does right there. All right, so I am pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and put some shading into these lips. Still using that reference picture. It's a tad bit darker, not too much darker. And I'm going to go and fade this side. Okay, so now I have the lips a little bit shaded in. And I am going to bring in this area a little bit darker because this is coming from that side of that nose, and it's kind of like where this mouth is kind of like being left in the shadows with. So I'm going to bring that part up. Okay, and get some more of this shading. Try to get this a little bit more smooth. I do believe that we can add a little bit more shading to this area just to really get it, especially in this area right here, like right there. All right. Oop, wrong one. All right, I do have this eraser pencil that I talked about in class today. This kind of just helps me shape up some of this area that I would like just to take just a little bit of this area off. Not much, but it does allow me to do that. And then I'm just going to kind of take my clean in and like buff it. Feel like this one I took a little too much off, but that's okay. I can always re-add. And again, go into that skin. All right, now I'm going to really start adding in this area right here. I'm going to lay down some more graphite just to kind of make it nice and dark. Then I am going to really put some more of that shadow, especially in this area, because I feel like it needs to be a little bit darker just right here. Now sometimes with your blender, because you already have so much down, you really do have to go in this area and really add some shading. Which I'm seeing now, I can actually carve out a little bit more on this side of this nose. Oof. Blend it in. All right. And then the shading. Does get a little lost. And I'm going to really lay down this pencil lightly. Add some shadow here. All right. Some shading. Now don't remember, you don't always have to use your blender every time you lay it down, because we can get a little too happy with our blenders, expecting it to work miracles, and it's not a miracle worker. It just kind of helps things smooth out. So if you like the way that your shading looks and you do not want to put any more or you don't want to blend anymore, remember, you do not have to necessarily always just blend it out, because we can get a little too blend happy. Shape up this shadow just a little bit. Feel it's getting a little too thick. Clean my clean side again. Smooth. All right. Yeah. I'm liking it. Yes, I'm liking that. All right. All right, now I'm going to go and start laying in the shadow right here. So if I look right here on my nostril, there is some shadows right here. And it's kind of going into that ball of that nose. And remember, it's a ball, so you have to do that U shading. Do not want to do flat shading. And using it curved too, I'm going to kind of just bring it out here and kind of have it blend in, because that's what it's doing over there. All right. And also too, just bringing it in that curve of the nose right there. Kind of blend this into my nose over here. I'm going to use the clean side of my blender. Start putting in that boundary of this shadow here, this shading here. And I am making it dark like it is over here. There you go. I do think that this area right here needs to be a little bit darker, so let me go and I'm going to put a little bit of shading right here. And I'm going to make this part right here, the nose, a little bit darker. Make sure you can really see the cut of where the skin and that is breaking up. And I'm going to go put a little bit of shading here. Put this part of the nostril, just color this in just a little bit more. I feel like I'm losing it a little bit. This work. And again, I'm going to fade it out because that's what it's doing. Am I happy with this? I am getting happy. I'm getting happy. Just make this area a little bit darker. Put in some of the shading right here. I'm a little happy with that. It's getting a little too high, so I think that nostril's getting a little too high. A little bit. It's getting a little too happy and high. So let me bring it down a little bit. Happy with that. Actually, I think it can kind of just flatten it out just a little bit. So let's see. See, so let's see. Yeah, I'm happier with this, the way that this nostril is coming out now. I think I was going a little too high and I needed to bring it down a little bit. It's curving in a little too much. We'll say it's still a little high, but we'll make it work. Much better. Gonna mess up and make it sure it looks good messed up. I guess, I don't know. Don't have to be perfect. People will still know that this is a nose. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this side again. Okay. Bring in a little bit of shading right here. Okay. Okay. And just bring in a little bit of that shadow over here. And I'm just going to blend it to make it just look a little bit more like kind of cleans off my blender too, which is nice. Okay, so there's that. There is a little bit of a shadow right here on top of this part of this mouth, so I'm going to bring this up, make sure that my mouth is a little bit darker. I'm going to bring this part up right here. Lips a little bit darker because I do want you to be able to tell where the shadow is and where the lip is. So that is what we're going to do. The shadow is a little bit above the lips, so I'm using both sides of my blender too much. And my clean side is becoming my dirty side. All right. Again, clean, make sure it's off. If we look at the picture again, there is a little bit of a shadow here, and there's some shadows here, and that is what's going to define this side of the nose, because we really don't, I mean, the shadow does go up a little bit with the nose, but not much, but that is what's going to define it, not a line. Like, I don't want to see any lines, because remember, if you see the lines, you're actually flattening your nose, and we do not want to flatten our nose that we just worked so hard to make it look very 3D. And actually I'm going to make this go kind of blend into it because we don't really see where this nose kind of just follows. So, and again, just because we know that it closes and that it does meet over here, if it doesn't show where it's meeting, we can't really put it. So we're going to make sure that we don't do that. All right. I'm gonna kind of just smooth this part out. Okay, I do see it, like I said, I do see the shadow that's kind of going in this area. It does look like it's all in this area right here. So I'm going to put some of that shadow here. And like I said, it does look like it kind of just follows up with the nose. But this side is very, very highlighted, so we don't want to make it too obvious of a shadow because I don't really see it in this area. So but I am going to put a little bit of a shadow right here where I can see that shadow. Okay. We do have a dark area here, so I'm going to make sure that my area is dark in this area right here where it's dark. Do make sure you're using that rotating little circular movements because it does help with the actual going to put down some shading. And put some little bit right here too. But then I'm gonna buff it all out to make sure that it looks like that area. So I'm gonna come in here and look to see if I need to make any refinements, and I will follow that refinement again with a very light movement. It doesn't really come that far into this area, so I'm going to make sure that it doesn't do that. And I'm going to clean this area that I'm going to use to do a lot of buffing because I don't really want a lot of graphite in this area. I am going to put more of a shadow right here because it does have a little bit more of a shadow in this area. So that's what I'm going to do. Just come down just a little bit. Add a little bit of that shadow right there. Buff out this little area because I think I just got a little. All right, guys, if you can do this, this is a perfect nose. This is a beautiful nose. You should be very, very happy with your nose. You should know that this is a nose. Is it absolutely 100% perfect? No, but remember, we're looking at things in a very creative way. You know, we're not looking for photorealistic. We're just looking for something that we can be happy with what our nose and the way our progression is. And this is a beautiful nose. It's a beautiful nose that people will look at and go, oh my God, that's a nose. So that is what we want. So I hope you found this very, very helpful. And I will see you in class.